Oh, thank you very much for Dr. Dude to introducing me in extent to the audience. First, allow me to say my deep appreciation to the, especially the Maharashtra Animal and Fishery Sciences University Nagar, especially to NACPAR Veteran College, the honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. Patukar, and the Dean, Dr. Kawetikar, and also the other senior staff members of the Vet College to give me permission and to give me, warm welcome to let me, participate the event of very important day, which is International World Elephant Day. It's a great honor and pleasure to me to give this presentation, especially on this auspicious day. And thank you very much for Dr. Dude and also the staff members and Dr. Shalaka Chauhar, and to organize all this, the event make possible behind the scenes. And I am really pleased to give you an update of what I have done in the past 20 years. And also I hope this will start a good collaboration between some of your students and to work in the fields of Asian elephants. And thank you very much for remember me to give a space and time on this day. So this presentation is about Asian elephant calf mortality. I thought this is very important because Asian elephant has been endangered throughout the range states, and no country in the range states has allowed to make life offtake. So the only means of recruitment to the captive population through captive breeding. So I think I can give you some insights of what I have done and what I have seen from my researchers and what I've reported in some of my publications. So first, allow me to introduce myself. I am Khyne U Mar. I'm from originally from Myanmar, and I live in England at the moment. But most of my project is in Myanmar in Southeast Asia. So Myanmar is formerly known as Burma. It's also known as Golden Land for foreigners. So this is the country where you find the highest population of captive Asian elephants. So my topics arranged to this to today's event is like this. So I will introduce about the study population, which is timber elephants of Myanmar. Then I will talk about elephant studbook, what I have been compiled for my past 2 decades. And based on this studbook data, there are a lot of research coming out from the studbook data, and I mostly presented the demography and mortality pattern, survival pattern of our elephants in Myanmar, and also the factors affecting birth deaths in our elephant calves and other correlates. And in conclusion, and I will add a few slides which was kindly permitted by Dr. Willem Scheftener from the Netherlands, who is expert in EHV, and Dr. Dude and some of the senior staffs from the vet college asked me I should add the important disease which is the latest emerging disease in Asian elephants. So that is why I asked Dr. Willem to allow me to show some of his presentation, which he used to teach my Myanmar colleagues in one of the capacity building workshops. This is, and after concluding, I add a few on EHV. So first, some of you may know a lot of important exotic animals are captured and captive. Why elephants are important and why elephants are kept in captivity. So mostly wild elephants are kept in captivity for a variety of reasons. So this is it's to guarantee something went wrong in the wild population. They should have some population to replace or re-establish it. That is the main reason. And or maybe the animal may be useful for a meat, milk, hide, drought, like yak or camel, Dromedaean camels, or like mitten, which is Bos frontalis, which is important meat, milk, hide, but still a wild animals. And it's important topics for research. It's used to educate people. It is used to inspire the public, and also it's good for fundraise. For Asian elephants, for elephant per se, for Asian elephants, it's regarded as endangered under the IUCN Red List, and it is much more close to extinction than African counterparts. As you know, we have only 2 elephants in the world. One is Asian, one's African, but Asian elephants are more close to India. That is why they class as endangered. African is classed as vulnerable. So somebody who do not know about in IUCN Red List, I put a slide. This is IUCN Red List is a critical. It lists the animals which is used as a critical indicator for the health of the world's biodiversity. It provides information about the range size of this populations, a habitat ecology, how they are useful, how they use for a public or for trade, and its threats and conservation, and that will help inform necessary conservation decision. That is what IUCN Red List is created for. So they have the different criteria from, you know, species they not know too much, which is not evaluated. Even they know the species existed, but they do not have data. So the species, they are data deficient. And if they know about aggregate data, some species they have aggregate data, they class from least concern to already extinct. The more they close to this, the more increased risk of extinction. So in elephant, there are 2 kind of criteria is entitled for elephants. One is endangered, which are Asian elephant in this list. This is at the risk of becoming extinct because it is either few in numbers or threatened by changing environmental predation parameters. So for African, this is still, you know, an animal which is likely to become endangered if these current circumstance of threatening its survivor is not improved. So we are more important than African elephant, and also it is listed as keystones or flagship or umbrella species. Keystone species is a species that is a species whose impact on its community or ecosystem is large and disproportionately large relative to its abundance. So it's abundance. So another flagship species, also known as charismatic species. So they draw financial support more easily, and it serves as a symbols and to stimulate conservation awareness and action. That is what elephants are also classed as. It's you know, it stimulates conservation awareness. And umbrella species is a species whose species ranging needs a large block of home range, relatively natural and unaltered habitat to maintain for other viable purposes, because under the umbrella of the conservation of Asian elephant, there are a lot of species that shared the same habitats already make under conservation. So another fact that makes the elephant become, needs to put in captivity, and it is because there's a lot of studies and reports that raise concern about the elephant, especially in captivity. So that is why we Asian elephants are, important species, and that is why people would like to see the continuous sustainability of elephants, not only in the wild but also in captivity, because as I told many times, now people or governments, countries are not allowed life offtake. So because of this, the status of is in the road to extinction. It's become endangered in the near future. It may be critically endangered. So the only source of the species that's the animal that can guarantee the conservation of wild population is the elephants itself in captivity. So how many elephant in captivity at the moment? It's about 15,000. The largest captive elephant population in Myanmar, which is about 40%, which is about 6,000, followed by India and Thailand. So this presentation is all about elephant in captivity. I am not the appropriate person to talk about wild elephant. The wild elephant population is not included in this presentation. So there are another 1,000 Asian elephants are in zoological collections worldwide. So this is the numbers of elephant captivity. So most of these 60% of global captive Asian elephant population is in Myanmar, and most of them are walks in timber camps. So Myanmar is the country that extensively used Asian elephant drought power in the logging operations. So the department that extensively used the logging elephants it's an enterprise called Myanmar Enterprise, which is under the charge of Ministry of Forestry. And there's another sister department called Forest Department. They have a little over 100 elephants. While Myanmar Enterprise is 3,000 plus elephants, it's mainly for logging. These 100 plus elephant in Forest Department, mostly they are in zoological collections, parks, and wildlife reserves and forests. So there are another half of 6,000, which is about 2,000, nearly now is another 2,500 are in the hands of private. So this is the demography of elephants in our country. So how do they use? Traditionally, we use elephants. Main use is in logging industry, and second main use is for transport animal. They carry animals or drought purpose. In northern part of Myanmar, we use elephants for agricultural lands, and a few elephants for train for ceremonial and processions. So we are not use elephant for or tourism or per se. It's very few numbers. Even Myanmar is now opening a lot of elephant ecotourism camps, which we call elephant conservation based ecotourism camp. We call ECBC, elephant conservation based ecotourism camps. So there's not more than hundreds. So introduction to Myanmar timber elephants. We are the country. This is the country we keep our elephants in extensive keeping system, and we are not like, you know, zoo settings or in other countries. We are not hands-on. Hands-off is the type that there is no barrier, you know, between men and elephants. So we are just managing our elephants, but skin to skin. It is, you know, an extended keeping system needs, they need to have a huge habitat so that they can freely roam around without any restriction of mobility, if possible, whenever possible. This is what we are very, you know, proud of. This is a country, because Myanmar is the only country in the whole of Southeast Asia with largest forest covered area. Even we do have, you know, a lot of problems of, you know, extensive logging that makes thinning of our forest, but we still have 40% of our the whole country is covered by forest. So when the elephants walk for logging operations, they walk only 6 to 8 months a year, so 4 to 6 hours a day. And like humans, there's 4 to 5 days a week, depending on the availability of weather, availability of forage and on climate. If climate is too hot, in summer they reduce walking days, walking hours, and it is a must for elephant to have at least 2 days of rest in a week time. So walking elephants are giving rest. They are giving holiday starting from mid-February. It is by law, all elephants in the country have to stop walking and go into the deeper part of forest for summer rest period. No elephants are allowed to walk in summer, so until the rains arrive, monsoon arrives. So elephants feed and breed freely at night, which means our elephants have a very good genetic variability, because there is no restriction on choice of mate or, you know, breeding. So we have a good, you know, mix up of different types of tusk in our bull population. It's not like Sri Lanka, with Sri Lanka has only 10%, less than 10% of their bulls has tusks. Most are magna because the continuous offtake of tusker. We do not have this problem. The bull population in our elephants, it's more than 70% is our tuskers. We have very few tuskless magna in our population. So the reason is because of the free choice of breeding, so they can breed anytime with the wild elephants that sharing the same habitat, because most of the camps are in the forest. Most of the forests have wild elephants. Most calves are thought to be sired by wild bulls. We also have records of calves, you know, sired by our own bulls, our captive bulls, but majority are by the wild bulls. Breeding rates are natural. We are not managed. So calves are cared by their own mother and their aunts, allo mothers. Females rest 24/7 from mid-pregnancy until the calf reach age 1 year. So even, you know, we give rest from the mid-pregnancy until the calf reach the age, past the first year. We still attach the calves until they reach the weaning age. The calves are allowed to suckle 24/7, and we normally do not give supplement. We do not provisioning, but the calves are trained by their mothers or aunties to forage by itself. So when the calf reaches the age of 5, and we tame and trained, and the mahouts are attached, and then we class as a training elephant, and then we train this elephant, continue train the elephants at the verbal commands, you know, logging related commands until they reach the age of 17. By the time they reach age 18, they are put into the workforce as full-fledged, we call FG, full-fledged walking elephants, and until they reach the age of 55. So after 55, they still attach mahouts to this old age elephant until the last day of his life. So breeding capacity is at the moment its main source of recruitment, because capture from the wild have stopped 1974. Before 1970s, we capture wild population, wild elephant, to replenish our walking stock. So because of this living condition as an extensive living condition in natural, near natural settings, we have less stereotypies, less stress than IKS is intensive keeping system, and stereotypies is not common in our population. This is about our population. So how our walk cycle, our walking period for timber elephant starts with rain. It depends upon region to region. It's some region the rain reached July, some region the rain arrived at August. When along the rain, when the road is soft and muddy and slippery, and when there's very good, foraging, green forage, lush forage has plenty, the walk cycle starts. So it's a very easy job for the first few months when the rain is still in place. They just slide it out the logs, which is left behind the previous years who are taking out from the forest. So walk season finished by 15th of February by law until it rains. So the elephant walking period is 6 to 8 months a year. So where do they come from? So before 1970s, main recruitment is from capture from the wild. So 3 most commonly used capturing methods are Milashika, lasso, immobilizing Keda. But government want to reappraise the wild population, and also by the time we reach 97, we have quite a population in our timber walking force. So they considered as elephant should be, stop capturing until we knew the status of a wild elephant in our forest. So that is the reason, just to reappraise, rekindle the population in the wild. The government stopped and we focus on captive breeding. So main recruitment is captive breeding, and we now know calves born in captivity are more tractable than wild-caught elephants. They're easy to train and they live longer than elephant captured from the wild. And one other benefits of raising elephant in captivity is we continue the tradition of passing mahouship from father to son. So these sons of the mahouts are involved in raising their, the calves born from their fathers, the elephant that their fathers has handled. The whole family involved in raising the calves. So these boys, the mahout sons, are attached to what they have been, involved with helping raising the calves. So they easily become mahouts. That is what we call traditional mahouts. This is a traditional mahouts, a mahouts that's become mahouts by teaching the handling system from the father. So this also continued this tradition alive. So in Myanmar, we are never short of finding mahouts in our throughout the range of elephant habitats. So also we now know, because of this close encountership between man and elephant, they already the knowledge of their elephant human interactions, handling, behavior, training, feeding, nutrition needs, these are improved by time, and they adjust what the needs of elephants depending on the experience they have had during the elephant handling and years of handling. This is what we thought. Captive elephant is also good for recruiting our own captive stock, but also it's also one of the factors that helps our mahootship continue the tradition of mahoots, sons become mahoots. So in summary, our elephant population made up of captive born but wild caught, but at the moment we had less than 40% of wild caught still alive in our population. So in our populations, we class our elephants by age group. So we call under 4 years age is called, we calf at heel, and by the time they pass the age of 4, we train this elephant, and training is take place before the age of 5, and then or if the elephant is captured from a day, we train immediately after capture, but capture is no longer exists at the moment. So we train calves at age 5, 4, a little over 4, and this become the tame elephant. Once they finish taming training, our system is we brand them. In Myanmar, each elephant has unique registration number and name and mahouts. This registration number was branded by chemical branded, we call chemical branded, and on the buttocks with star that show there's a property of state and the number, and then we give a logbook where the lifelong biodata, diseases, vaccination, breeding records, that's all recorded. This is the logbook data, is like a stud book in zoological collections. And after age 4, they still continue training until age 17, that we call TC, trained calf. We still call calf because they do not reach adulthood. By the time they reach age 18, past the 17th birthday, they become full-grown FG, and they put it into the workforce. And by the time they age 30, past 50, some elephants do not wait until 55. Most of elephants retired at age 50. And these elephants live in the forest 24/7, just foraging. So when I start working with Myanmar Tender Enterprise as head of the veterinarians, where I manage the enterprise 3,000 elephants under my charge. So I start collect the birth death data of elephants in the hands of in the Intima enterprise. It later becomes the stud book, because I found all the registration number in chronological order, starting from elephant number 1, which was, when Myanmar is still under British colony. But since time, the British administrators at that time have use this registration system. All elephant in Myanmar has the registration number branded on the buttock and with logbook, and the ledgers listed every elephant in the hand. When I start putting all these elephants from the records, I found from the old ledger, starting with elephant number 1. When you put everything on Excel, we found the total number I already collected by the end of 1999 is about 5,000, starting from elephant number 1, a few missing in between, and also 2,500 calving. It becomes one of the world's largest stud book of captive Asian elephants. So based on this stud book data, I did my PhD in University College in London. So especially I'm looking into demography and life history strategies. So we want to know how Myanmar population demography of captive elephant changes by time. This is our my main interest, main topic of this PhD thesis. So in that PhD study, the Studbook data is only the data entered in the Studbook is between, the date of entry is between 1925 and the year 2000. I started my PhD. This is the span of period of the Studbook data. So total number of calf bonds at that time was 2,500, and we found 704 elephants died before age 5. And among these calving, we have only less than 3% is born as we have very few stillbirths. And we notice, my PhD thesis document how calves mortality in this period of time. So in calves born alive, you see this very high spark of mortality in the first 2 years. This is 10% died before the first year, and 25% never make it to the 5th birthday, 27%. This is the main, this make me the main interest to explore more. And we also reported male calves and calves born to wild-caught mothers, females, showed higher mortality in those calves born to captive-born mothers. And accident age-collected deficient formation are the most common cause of calf mortality. This is what I reported in my thesis. So my thesis especially looked into the survival trend, how mortality changes by age in between sexes and between birth origins. So we found males suffer higher mortality than females. It's understandable that one of the reasons why males suffered higher is males have higher workload than females. There's much more extraction, they have to work harder, and the assignment for the one male is at least a minimum 2,000 tonnage a year they will drag. And so they also have longer working months, because females have some rest for pregnancy or for lactation, but males do not have rest as much female has in their lifetime. This one of the reason is the males have higher workload. This is one of the reasons they suffered, work-related stress is one of the reason that cause higher mortality. And wild-caught elephant higher mortality in every age group. So this is the age range that we are looking into. Every age, wild-caught are lower than captive-born, and the lowest is the wild-caught males. So this is capture-related stress, taming-related stress, not familiarity within the captive environment. This is the reasons we thought. And whenever elephants are captured from the wild, they always lower social status in the herd, so they cannot compete in a lot of stop and mate competition and foraging. Well, these are the reasons we believe that makes the wild-caught bulls has lower survival than its counterparts. And also as I told before, my interest is always in calf mortality. So in my thesis, I reported that we noticed summer is the time we found seasonality. Death rate is quite seasonal, and they are mostly, especially in when we have high temperatures, summer months, which March, April, May is one of the seasons that we notice high mortality. In 2 months, as we call, juvenile, sub-adult, and over 5 we regard as adult. This is what it is just the first time we analyze in the whole Studbook data. This is what I report in my thesis. But in short, my thesis just talk about major risk factor leading to mortality pattern of timber elephants is likely to be caused by the climate, male physiology, because males need more food, but they do not have this opportunity to get that foraging, the higher workload, and then the must period, the must physio, all makes them, stressful, and then it's cost their longevity. And taming, capturing, work-related stress, I think the three things are major risks for leading to mortality. I do not, anybody who would like to go into details, this is open access. Just log on to my University College London webpage on Zoological Society of London, where I'm affiliated to, and if you know ZSL, which we call ZSL, is one of the oldest research in zoological zoos in the Europe. It's hundreds of years. So this is a very reputable research institution where they manage 2 zoos, Whipsnake Zoo and London Zoo. So this is a place where I made my PhD. So you can go to the ZSL webpage or UCL webpage. This is free downloadable. So as we know, the most vulnerable age group in the whole, timber elephant is the calf, which is under 5 age group. So we categorize the causes of death, and we found this is a cause I reported in my thesis, and we believe all start from mother ecgalactia. This is a key factor that leading to calf mortality. Mother ecgalactia is an inability of elephant mothers to produce sufficient milk for their offspring. So when the calves do not have enough lactation from the mother, they start get what we call, we don't see anything in our the death of the calves. All we see is the calf become reduced body condition, become thin, and they died like this. So it's a classic genre we don't know too much about. But among them, one of the most prominent causes of general weakness, those caused that died by general, is we found a lot of worm infestation, and then another one is just wasting the calf thin, and then they just succumb. So this is worms, general weakness, and then these are the main things that cause. Another things we notice, the higher number of deaths is caused by accident. Accidents, what we mean is died in the forest, falling from the higher ground. So the calf fall from the. So this means the calf, as the calf do not receive enough milk from the mother-calf distance become increased. The calf leave the mother in hope of, in order to achieve more food by foraging. So it means he forage by himself, leaving the heart behind. And as he do not know the terrain, because our forest is very rough terrain, they fall from the ground, higher ground. It's start from mother do not produce enough milk. They do not stay with mother. Another one is attacked by the older sibling or attacked by the wild elephants. This is another cause accident. We class it accidents. Some elephants are caught in the forest fire. Some elephants we found drowning, and then snake bites. That kind of stuff we class as accidents. So they thought the main leading factor that all these, calf mortality under 5 is starting from, mother cannot produce milk. Why mother cannot produce milk? Our thinking is the mother has, previous pregnancies, along with she still has as a timber elephants, they still have to engage in the logging operation, the previous pregnancy, lactation with previous offspring, or with workload he have been engaged in, it makes the females, they cannot get enough nutrition what they need for. But Myanmar, we are government and even the timber enterprise has, you know, all, produce all what they need, but the system is we do not we do not provision our elephants unless it is absolutely necessary. So the reason, as we are, they are living free living and they have to find their foods, especially at nights for night foraging. So it seems to me those elephants who are not lucky to habitat, stay in the good condition forest, they might have malnutrition because they do not have enough time to go out foraging while tending they have calves at heels. That is what our thinking is. And so we report, and my decision, a government should be giving, provisioning the mothers with calves, lactating mother, pregnant mothers. So not, you know, free foraging is not enough to maintain their body reserves. So that is what the cost. This is what I report in my So the Studbook database was updated after 2007. I finished my PhD in 2006 and 6-7. So I continue updating, and by the time 2017, the Studbook contains 7,000 plus adult elephants, plus 4,000 plus calving records born between, you know, 2014 and 2017. So this is longitudinal data. We know each and every date of birth, if they were born in captivity, if they died, death date. So we can easily calculate his longevity and birth potential, how many fecundity rate if it's for females, and we know cause of death, and we know the genealogical, you know, is it the first generation elephant or second generation elephant is born in captivity? If it is born, it is third generation elephant. So we know the location data, and then, but the only drawback in Zeta, we do not get too much paternal information because elephants are foraging in the forest. So most of they're breeding with the wild bulls or captive. We do not have enough records. So we do have matrilineal records, but the paternal records are scarce. So what do we learn from update data? So we would like to know how population changes by time, especially birth origins of elephants, how captive population, captive born population, wild population in the workforce change by time. So during my PhD time, this is what the population pyramid at the time. So we have very quite similar number of population with in each, you know, birth origin because of because of breeding age in this group, because 20 and 30 is a peak breeding. So we have lots of calves at the time, but time change when we finish the Studbook data collection in nearly 14-15. We found there is less population of wild caught in our population, partly because we stopped capturing in 1994. So there is no new elephant wild caught elephant enter into the population. But based on the previous recorded breedings from both birth origin, we have loads of calves. So in the under 15 age group. So this is what, so they're born, and then we train at 4 years. This we put under training, under 7, still under this age group. And then, and we put in the workforce, and this is retirement age. So this two age group, this we cannot utilize in our work with this only numbers we utilize and work with between age 17 and 55. So this is also changed. So we need in the workforce, nearly 75% is become captive born elephants. So looking into their reproduction, how they reproduce, the pattern of reproduction in our workforce, our MT elephant population is female biased population, and 30% of MT female reproductive active age is active. It's about here. This is between 20 and age around 50, active age. And captive-born elephants have 70% total population. And what we found amazingly is, in this 4,000 birthing record, the youngest female in our database that gave birth, the age at the time of his first birth of his offspring is 5.3 years. We notice the females become younger and younger when they are in captivity. So that is what we find out. And then actually the mean age this is outliers, you know, the very few elephants become that young, breed in that age, but mean age is about 15 years. And we found peak reproductive age is about 20, but reproductive is about 30 years. It's much longer than human. When in human, the reproductive peak is about 30. By the time they reach age 40, 45, we have menopause. There is no breeding after 40, 45. Very few have 45 plus, 50 plus. But elephants is still continue until age 50. So the oldest reproducing female, the oldest recorded female that gave birth is 53 years. And mean in the birth calf 5 years. But we also noticed the shortest intercalving interval. It's shocking to see. This is less than 2 years. It's 1.8 years. It's about 20 months. Then we came to understand elephants are like equines. They might have foal heat. Foal heat, the veterinarians know the first heat in horses that come into estrus just after the birth, after paturation. Elephant also have foal heat. So that is why they fertilize, they got conceived in the very first heat after the birth of this offspring. So it's very important. You have to manage your calf, your females. If you notice the females is about to go estrus, it's not advisable to get breed. The reason is the uterus, it's not very fully involuted, fully back to normal, the first thing. And when the uterus is not in normal situation, when they fertilise, it's a higher chance of abortion. The third is, if he conceive with this in the first heat or foal heat and give birth, the calf born from this foal heat in the previous calf become sibling competition for milk. It's a milk competition going. So the calf has to feed, the female has to feed 2 calves at a time. It's not good for the female. It's very demanding for the female elephant to take care, to let suckle 2 calves at the same time. So this is what we noticed from our records, and we noticed maximum calves the female can give birth in the lifetime is 10. This is also published. So this is what we report in our in the publication after my from my updated Studbook data. So overall survival trend, after we update our data, we publish one important publication. This is comparing our overall survival trend with my elephants to European zoo elephants. In our overall survival trend, we notice there is a dip of survival, high mortality in the first 2 years, and then another dip here at age 4. This is weaning age and training. This is taming related deaths. And however, our elephants continue living until age 70. Sorry. So we compare the Studbook data with the Studbook data for European zoos, and we notice this first year mortality, we thought very high is 10%, is unequivocally low compared with zoo first year mortality and zooborn. They are at that time at 30% first year mortality. And then if you see, there's no European zoo males survive after age 45 or 46. Our bull are still continue living until age 50. So bulls live shorter, and then, but our females are still living nearly the same. The 60 plus female are still in the zoo, but the survival trend is much lower than our Myanmar timber elephants females. So what we report in this paper is timber elephants live longer than zoo elephants. This is the compromised survey in zoo elephants, which we caught the Ross Clark, RSCPA, Marcus Rooklam, ZSL, and the most famous African elephant researchers, Dr. Phyllis Lee, Dr. Cynthia Mose, are our colleagues, and based on my PhD thesis paper. So this is one of the papers that shook the European zoo management, that make outcry with, look, zoo elephants do not live longer as elephants that haul timber in the forest. So that is one of the powerful paper we have published in my career. So then the calf mortality data was reanalyzed with updated data. So our interest is the preventable cause of mortality. This is what we found: parasitic related deaths. So we make a publication with one of my graduate student, Carly Lensday, and he said, you know, these are probably parasite associated death, which is a preventable cause. He stroked this because when you have, you know, malnutrition and no good, it's a lower body condition, we can get filarious bots, worms, and general weakness. That is what we published in this paper, and then we focus on, you know, we publish in most of them, publishing to encourage range stake people, especially to Myanmar timber outbreaks, regular quantitative assessment, parasite infection, and deworming are important. This will prevent further loss of calves in captivity. So about these parasite, elephant parasite, you can look, you know, this is a good book you can look into, but among elephants parasite, the three most common parasites we can see in our range states, in not only in Myanmar, I believe, is gastrointestinal nematodes, simply reported as strongales, nematodes, and stomach bot 5. So when you talk about parasites, it's not only look into parasite infesting, parasite life cycle, parasite, you know, how distribution of parasite, but one of the things we would like to ask our colleagues in Myanmar is, there are stress that can cause, you know, gastrointestinal abnormalities, especially extreme weather or exertion caused by work related, because our elephants are living in extensive living condition. They are always subject to weather and work related workload. So we look into data, and we found, and then there is two things that caused by stress is delay gastric emptying, if they can cause constipation, and they can cause diarrhea, apart from parasitic infection. This is stress can cause simply upside the gastrointestinal mobility and function. So we not only in but also in other animal species, there is the enormous, you know, document that responsive stress affected previous stress experience. If they have similar stress experience, they can have, you know, it's not that strong response and bad response, but they need to be careful. But this stress response is depending on gender, sex, and also reproductive status of animal. What we would like to stress is, if the animal is a young animal with pregnant animal, or freshly, gave birth elephant, they are much more stressful. That is what we look into our detailed stress due to weather and exertion. All the other causes apart from parasite that cause gastrointestinal, malfunction, function. So what we think in our real world is stresses that causes the gastrointestinal function that affect gastrointestinal function are maybe taming, long-distance traveling, because we do not control. If you don't control the distance of traveling, there's also even they do not give any abnormality, at least gastrointestinal function can be affected. Long distance traveling, we did notice in all they got constipation, they got diarrhea. There's a reports in our in MT records. And public engagement, tourism percent also can get gastrointestinal, indigestion and other things, and changes in heart structure, and also the stress factor that affect the gastrointestinal function. Mother calf separation is also can got stress and extreme weather. This is the most common stresses that we face in Myanmar timber enterprise. So long-term exposure and stress, as we all know, physiologically chronic stress can suppress reproduction, suppress immune responses, that leading to poor wound healing, increased susceptibility to various diseases. This is important because our elephant calf death caused by taming-related stresses mostly related to this suppressed immune responses and reduced growth rate, loss of body condition due to reduction. It's continue reduce the retard the growth. So one thing I would like to say in importance, there's a lot of other results from effects from the stress, but reduce reproductive behavior, increase abnormal behavior. But the most important, I would like to say, increase aggression and fearfulness. So those cases, casualty by elephant, that elephant kills its own mahouts, elephant kills the tourist due to unexplained aggressive behavior, immediate, abruptly, aggression is partly related to stress, chronic stress. So that is what is very important. If the elephants are kept in captivity, it's important to test whether they are exposed to chronic stress or not. The three most gastrointestinal parasite are just a little short information is strongals. The strongals important. They do not show any clinical symptoms. If they are if they are healthy, they are asymptomatic. But chronically, they can cause slowly they cause protein losing gastroenteropathy and hypoproteinemia enteritis, reduced appetite, and psyllium uptake is retarded, absorbing calcium phosphate, which is all important for growth. So another trematodes, if those are living in the highlands or in a swampy area, these trematodes, it's also, they have the main defect, they moved in the liver. So this mostly due to the mechanical damage due to migrating immature flukes or fibrous. This is because they travel or migrate. This causes liver insufficiency that can cause later indigestion and a lot of other, things, detoxicate, cannot detoxify, that kind of stuff. So disease control is very simple and easy to do. It's a just removal of snail and burning of the emergent vegetation and regular deworming after fecal symptoms. So regular deworming is a must. Another BOTS, gastric meiosis, it is nasty disease. They also is symptomatic in healthy elephant, but common in raining season. They just lose stool, and you found peculiarity is mouth breathing and mud eating. It is the irritation caused by the bots in the stomach. That is what, if you found mouth breathing, mud, this causes it's by bots. So it's most of them start from the fly, the warble fly that laid egg in the base of the tufts in the gum line is the place where they lay eggs. So it's very important the mahouts to clean the base of the tufts with camphor oil or neem oil. It's a good fly repellent. So we use ivermectin 1% and or injection or injection of 5 to 20 milligram. Neguvan, we use Neguvan orally for treatment. We prefer injection twice a year. So this is just for information for vets who would like to know about anthelmintics. We use in Myanmar we use L-bendazole, ivermectin, fenbendazole, and trichlorophene, and what you call Neguvan. Now there are other, but this is the main drugs we use in the field. And also preventive, in terms of preventive medicine for vets, and there's a 3 vaccine we use for elephants on regular basis, but 2 vaccine for regular, and anti-tetanus vaccine is only when needed, when they only in pregnant and before they give birth. So anthrax vaccine, because we are in the zone of anthrax zone, so Southeast Asia is anthrax is prevalent, so we normally give anthrax vaccine, attenuated spore vaccine, and to mostly in when they are in the rest period in April. But we do not vaccinate in elephants in calf under 6 months, and in pregnant and females more than 8 months, and in sick elephant we do not give. But if in early pregnant, we still give. Twice a year of hemorrhagic HS vaccine, we call hemorrhagic sepsemia. These are alum precipitated inactivated vaccine in June and December, and we do not vaccinate in elephants under 6 months and in pregnant with highly pregnant more than 8 months. So in sick elephants. So this is what we do. So the first part of my presentation, our take-home message, we know calf mortality is highest in the first 2 years, and one of the major driving force to this is starting from the malnutrition, and starting from the mother's inability to produce enough sufficient milk, and that leads to parasitic infection, gastrointestinal complication. They are the major contribution in calf mortality. Stress can affect GI tract mortality and function. So this is a preventable cause. So it's very simple things you have to use is regular stool test, quantitative, so just look into the eggs in the stool, and lactating, if possible, whenever possible. Lactating and pregnant mothers need provisioning so that they can produce efficient milks and milk production and lactation for the offspring. So another part I would like to present is climate concern in birth time. It's effect of climate. One of the drivers that varies the calving rate, infant survival, is climate. The reason is we are in the tropical regions, and we have very different temperature, rainfall in the whole of country. So what we noticed from our updated data, my previous data, we noticed when the temperature is high, we have less birth. That is what we noticed. So we look into details with another PhD student, which is Handamambi, and we have the meteorological data, and then he look into the year by year. It's from 1965 to year 2000. It's more than 35 years of data, and this is 2010 up to 2010. So every 1 birth is a dot, a 5 birth, more than 5 births is also bigger dots is bigger, more than 5 births. So we notice most calvings, and when August, also in the most are in the when they have higher temperature.
Dr. Ma, you need to unmute yourself. I think it got muted. The mic button, remember? Just go back to your Teams.
That's really means lessons.
Yeah, kiddo. Please. Left side to the sharing button, there is a mic button, ma'am. You just need to click that. Yes.
Sorry, I don't know what happened.
Oh, it's all right, ma'am. Please carry on.
Okay. So this is so we know, the calvings occurs during dry months. That is what she reported in her PhD thesis. This is from the updated data. So we noticed 41% of conception occurs during the rest period between February and June. And she followed each and every birth, whether the calves conceived in this rest period survive until age 5, because this is a longitudinal data. You can trace each and elephant until they survive, age 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. So that is what that Khyne. So she noticed those conceived in higher number of calves that conceive in the summer periods has very lower death rate, but in those conceived in the walking period, they have high death rate. So it means elephants should be given rest in summer months to have better and survivability, and the calves have more higher better calving rate, survival rate, if the elephants are giving rest in summer. So this is when the two calves are in the same panel. You can see more difference. Those conceived in rest period had lower death rate. So this is based on the more than 735 deaths, and 200, that is a huge amount of data. So, and then we also notice how about mortality. This is fecundity, this is mortality. So the first one is fecundity, and they also look into the fecundity mortality, and we noticed more deaths occur during dry season. So she plot the whole data into the three diagram and graph, and they said this is the panel, for temperature, this is a panel for rainfall. So this is the monthly survival probability. So they said it shows the more the temperature is approaching 24 degrees Celsius, the survival trend, this is survivability is higher. So this is, she conclude the comfort zone for elephants in Myanmar is 24 degrees Celsius. It deviates from 25 degrees Celsius. 24 degrees Celsius, this is higher death rate. So the same thing she found, the higher, this is the survival probability, the higher the rainfall, the better survival. So she conclude higher survival occurs during wettest months, and lower survival reaches it less than 135 millimeter rainfall, lowest. So this is what too cold, too heat, and too much rain, low rains are not good for elephant. So especially another way of looking into the data is she looked into the under 10 years survivability of calves. This is a young age, under age 100 months, about 8 years. The younger they are not survive to extreme temperature. So the best one is here. The more they go, probability is higher if the temperature is going up. So extreme temperature increase probability of probability of diet at all, especially at younger age. So this is another one, effect of rain size, rain on smaller but significant. Then this is a younger age group. This one is the more the rain is, the most probability of higher death rate. This probability of death, higher death. So the rain size is also higher survival at all time. Sorry, the more the higher the survivability. This probability death. This is the more they go up, this higher death. This is the lower. It's not very. It's a little inclined, but they said they still significant. Its difference is smaller, but still significant. But higher rainfall is called higher survivability. So take-home message on climate is weather influence fecundity and mortality schedules. And so in order to lower the calf mortality, so mothers with calves should give holiday, should give more rest in summer. And if they use tourism if they use elephant tourism, this tourism using elephant should be slowed down. So less females should be used in tourism. It's now different, and more females are in tourism in every country. So working hours should be reduced in summer. So that's another one we are looking at from Studbook database. We have every elephant we died has date of birth, date of death, date of age they died. It's also we are looking into, based on the database, we are looking into how many stillbirth we can how many stillbirths in the population, the probability of becoming stillbirth. And we know from our Studbook from age of mother at every birth of each child. So we look into the mother's age and then on the calf mortality, and based on the birth of each calf, we can calculate interbirth interval between calves. So we want to know the length of interbirth interval has any effect on calf mortality. And we know from the date of birth, we can calculate the birth order or parity of the calf. So if any is parity effect on calf mortality, meaning the firstborn calf, so late born calf, so younger parity, older parity has some effect on mortality. And also we would like to know if mothers died during the independence time, during the calf is before the calves reach the independent age, which is we call 5 years age, is how do they affect? That is what we look into details again. So the sample is, it's about 1,000 calves and about 378 mothers. So this was published in PLOS. So we look in survivor trend as we see mortality was highest during the first 2 years, and mortality risk varied. And if you spread out into the other way of, line graph, we saw there is a plateau in between 2 and 4, and then again an increase in age 4. So this is, taming age, mortality in aiming age, and mortality during when the calf is an independent age, when the calf is independent age, dependent to mother from everything. So 2 years, before 2 years and after 5 years is one of the critical periods for calves. So we need to tame. A little bit about taming, and I'm not going to details, but if you keep elephant in captivity, taming is the light stage for the calf before they reach the adulthood. So why do we need taming? Why do we break the elephant? We call it breaking, but actually they're taming to improve welfare of captive elephants. It's the taming is the schooling for elephant that they understand what human would like to do. So this is the bridge between man and elephant to understand each other language. for me. So to strengthen, by understanding this language, each other's language, it can strengthen bonding or positive relationship between men and elephants, so the elephants are able to live in harmony in human-dominated landscape. And if human caretakers knows about the captive elephant behavior, they can offer more choice and complexity, so that they can live in with full welfare requirements. They have more choice. They are not bored. And then standing in tied in on the tree or left in the field or something like this. So they can give, they can create some complexity and they can enjoy. So to create another one is to create a cohesive and compatible group, well-behaved, response elephant or mixed sex and ages. So by training these elephants, elephants know how to live in harmony between them as well as between men and elephant. So to give Mahood's owner, camp owner, the necessary skills to care for elephant humanely, is punishment only is not the way to control the elephant. Physical punishment is not the way to control the elephant. This is what the owners need to understand, and to teach an elephant willing collaborate, especially veterinary procedures. So when you need to inject or when you need venipuncture, to IV drips, so elephant understand this is he has to behave properly. So if you want to meet food care, the elephant has to understand, collaborate by presenting the food. If you want to trunk wash samples, the elephant has to understand how to perform, response to collection of trunk wash samples. These can also train, and elephant can also train to present ear for venipuncture. Elephant can also present the mouth, when you dosing orally. So you need to put mouth gag, forcibly pushing into the elephant mouth. But instead of doing this, when you train the elephants properly, they can accept even oral dosing. And also a lot of our very good zoo trainer we can walk with, and they can even train anima, something like that. So they know. So it's also important. Anima, the elephant should accept anima. Animals should accept intravenous dripping. Elephants should accept oral dosing. Very useful for EHV treatment in calf, and we will come back later. And I put a few slides on it. So traditional taming method, we use this three methods. It's double, two-sided crutch, one-sided crutch, and cradle or sling method. This is what we normally use. Traditional way of animal training is delivered through repetition. We train repeatedly. This is the traditional way. So we train when the weather is cool, and we never do monsoon in summer due to practical, it's difficult it's easy to get heat stroke in summer, and in monsoon it's very difficult to treat the animal from wounds or bruises that's coming from the taming session. So that is why we don't use some monsoon. This also in cool season. This is what the way we do. Normally, a lot of taming, I'm not going to details with tame related stress, but bear in mind, we now have a lot of calves born in captivity. These calves are born in human dominated landscape. These are not bring fresh from the wild and break immediately. This is not the way. This taming, breaking video breaking method you have seen in a recent video is very historical now. So our elephants at the moment in recent times, they know starting from the day one they born in captivity, they are under the human domain. They have been partially trained before they reach the age 5. So it's very important. You need to understand your elephant personality, how many times, how many days or time the elephant have been engaged with the human caretakers. This helps the elephants training. So you not need to do rough breaking sessions to these things. So that is why for captive born calves, positive reinforcement training will be useful more than those calves born from, capture from the wild. So taming related mortality, which we are blamed for by the elephant, taming is bad, but taming is the only way you teach your elephant understand human caretakers, wishes. So this is, if you do not tame, they do not understand each other. So, but why they make taming, the way they make breaking is not appropriate. So it is coming with bad outcome, by a lot of animal lovers, animal actors. So elephant should not be break, elephant should be trained, elephant should no chain, no hook. That is, for me, is wrong. If your elephants are born in captivity, if you want to keep the elephant for the long term, this elephant should be grew up as a well-managed, well-responded, well-behaved elephant. Otherwise, he cannot live in captivity. He cannot live in human domestic landscape, and he cannot get welfare, provision given by the caretakers. So what makes elephant mortality, what makes death in post-taming period? To me, my experience working with elephant is not a very few related to taming procedure, taming sessions. Much more responsive is the treatment to the elephant during post-taming period. So they need a professionally trained mahouts in Myanmar, also in other range of states of Asia, to know how to train elephant professionally. So this needs to be the school or training workshop should be done in each and every range state. This is what I really would like to see in the future. So to produce professionally trained mahouts and calves in post, whatever you train, positive reinforcement or in traditional training, the calves need good quality or nutritious diet in post-taming periods to replenish the depleted resource during taming sessions. It's very important. They have to recover from the stress they are in during taming sessions. Taming season in cool months is followed by summer, where most forests bear low quality for that leads to malnutrition. So this is weather is one of things that become responsible to get the elephants, get infected, the wounds or a bruise getting from taming cannot heal properly, because if they are in malnutrition, it takes longer time to heal. And malnutrition causes retarded growing as well as delay healing of taming inflammatory wounds. And another one is, one most important thing in post-taming training is when the elephant calves are trained, they are always also trained to walk with hobbles or fettering chains. This is the hobble. These hobbles and fettering chains are the equipment they have to, attach with them the rest of their life. So they have to know how to manage themselves with hobbles on with fettering ons. In the very first year of post-training period, they are difficult to move around with these hobbles. So trained calves are released for night foraging with hobbles attached to front legs. Unfamiliarity to walk or move or trot with hobbles makes the trained calf difficult to compete with captive-born resident and in accessing good forage. This is very important. And another thing is when the front leg is hobbled, they have to lift their whole body part, interior body part, which is very energy demanding. They are not walking freely because they need to hobble, because the movement of the elephant should be restricted, not to go far beyond what they are supposed to go. If the elephants are allowed to move freely, they can easily travel 10 to 20 miles a day. So in reality, in the field, when they are in a walking condition in the fields, the camp managers, the forester would like to see the elephant walking around 10 miles radius. So that is why they are taking to the good foraging ground and leave the calf with hobbles attached so that they can forage in this 10 or 12 mile radius. But for the calves, recent trained, it's difficult to move around in the first year of practice, first year of training. So this leads to malnutrition. This is energy demanding. It's difficult to compete to reach the better part of the forage, nutrition part of the forage with the resident elephant. This is what makes the elephants, condition down. This is malnutrition, one of the is responsible to reduce survival. That was observed in training. One another thing is when you are trained, when the elephants are trained, in first year of freshly trained period, they are always under low social status within the group. So they also have lower ration, lower portion of food what we have found in the foraging ground. So that is why we encourage timber enterprise to give provisioning during the first year of calf instead of leaving in the just relying foraging is not enough for the calves to maintain their body to maintain the body reserve. This is what we encourage Myanmar enterprise. They should be in provision, especially freshly trained calves. So this is another one is we also look into the mother's age, and we found the more the mother's older, they are more higher chance of the calves born. Their calves are died than those calves born from the mothers at their 20s. That is old. So they have to be very careful when you have old mothers have calves. You have to be given more attention. Another one is interbirth interval. Short intervals we calculate from the length of interbirth interval recorded from our Studbook. IBR interval less than 4 years or 3.7 is regarded as short birth interval. Medium is between 3.7 and 6.6 years, and long is longer than 6 years. That is what we categorize. So we found, as I showed you, the calves born with shorter birth and interval have 1.74 mortality risk during first year. The high mortality will die during their first year of age than other calves with long IBIs. So if they are long IBI, they're not very too much difference with probability of death. But in early years, those born with short birth intervals has very high chance of die during the first year. And also firstborn calves is also we quantify how different the firstborn in what we call primiparous calves and multiparous calves. So primiparous calves are higher chance of mortality. Is understandable. The mother is wrong the first experience, and this is what makes sense to get these results. And males are higher mortality risk. Males are demanding sex. So if you have males, the mother having better body condition, better milk production than female. If the mother is not in good condition, and if the males are getting, and also they need longer lactation than females. So it's demanding. So this is males have one is higher chance of mortality. Another interesting thing is stillbirth. We have very small stillbirth, less than 3% of birth is stillbirth. We look into the stillbirth, and in older mothers, older than 35 years, this age group is higher chance of giving stillborn birth. So the older they have higher chance of giving stillbirth. And among them, firstborns are 6.8 times more likely to be stillborn than subsequent cubs of the same mother. This is what, because the longitudinal data, we look in the firstborn, same mother, secondborn, the same mother. So then it's what the firstborns are more likely to born as a stillborn. So another one is we found in our Studbook during the course of the calf until they reach the age 5, some mothers died. So we noticed how quantitatively, how we know if the mothers died, the offspring is much risk of dying. So we want to know how big this the mortality risk is. So it's stunning to see that. It's quite scary to see. It's 10-fold higher mortality risk in the first. The calf is 10 times more likely to die during the 10 times more likely to die before they reach the age 1. So they are likely to die during their first year if they lost a mother. And then this is males are more vulnerable, and males died. Males are more died in this case. So if the mother is died, most male calves has high probability of dying before age 5. That is what we look in the consequence of death of mother of offspring risk of dying before age 5. So it is important. Mother should be alive. If mother do not alive, but we also have about about less than 10%, but we still find need to find the mother that can raise the orphan calf. So it's important, not when you have calf or about to give birth, and it's good to have same age mother with lactation calf nearby is always useful. So this is the take home message: to prevent calf 5 mortality. Mortality is highest during the first 2 years of life. Calves born to older mothers and the firstborn calves, and calves born after short interbirth culture and male calf need more attention. Traditional taming should be replaced with modern positive reinforcement training. So traditional taming is not that bad if you do correctly, because the calf itself is born in captivity, is not at it's mostly they are half trained, half tame, while they are moving around in human dominated landscape. So it's important to have to train calf since they are, since you can handle the calf. So when they are giving food just before they separate from the mother or just before they wean, and you can train the calf, and it will make less injury, less training, less period of taming training when they are tamed. So, but behavior study is important, and when you record behavior, it's very important to take account the sex of the calf, age of the calf, the age of the calf start showing interest to humans. They start respond to simple command, come, stop, that kind of thing. The time they spend with humans. This will be give into a lot of insight what kind of behavior training you can model. So and then after taming period, first year post taming periods are important to give more attention to the calves. So government find ways to produce professional training. This is very important to every range states. So one of key factors due to, as in conclusion, what I would like to say is one of the key for leading maternal captive born infant mothers to sufficient amount of the offspring. This one key factors. Male response for reduced survival is trained. This is based on my Studbook data. All the factors involved, but it starts from this. So we would like to say, so take home message: parasitic preventable causes because it starts from malnutrition and stress. So we have to be careful for what kind of stress your elephants suffer. Whether is the one factor you have to take into account. So if you know whether have schedule on maternity and fecundity schedule, you have to reduce workload in this weather. In the time, mortality is highest during the first 2 years as older mothers and firstborn calves born to short IBA, male calves you have to give more attention. Even start from malnutrition, they are correlates to the calf mortality. These are the correlates. So it's good if you have data on your birth, death, data of both mother and calf. Is give you insight what you prepare for to prepare for calving, pasteurization, and nursing, and during especially first 2 years. Government should find ways to produce professionally trained mouths. Then it is the only way you can divert your taming training to use modern positive reinforced training. If they go on tradition breaking, and our calves will suffer. But this one, only when they know the basics of animal welfare needs, welfare requirements, basic behavior training, then positive reinforcement training will be useful. But it needs a lot of training because it's based on rewarding correctly, timely, and then it based on, correct way of punishment, which is not physical punishment, which is the punishment in the way of removing of the rewards they like. That kind of stuff needs a lot of training. So thank you for listening. But some more to come is because the request from your Dr. Dude and other vets I've talked on WhatsApp said they would like to know a little more about EHV. So I put a few slides with the permission of Dr. Willem and from Netherlands. If Willem is the audience, I would like to say thank you, Willem. So Willem and I have do pathology training workshop for elephant veterinarians in Myanmar in last year. So this is what Willem and Dr. Susan Mikota from Elephant Care International and we are the group, and then and Dr. Dylan Agnew, Mission and Sage University, they are trainers. So we make 2 training courses last year for elephant vets. So herpes virus, in short, this is species specific virus. It's like lung infection. So they are they give in natural. They are like resident virus they like to live peaceful together, but under circumstances of when they know when they can multiply, when they get virulence and they cause fatal disease. It's very similar to the virus that got cold sore in human. That is what I understand. So EHV disease mostly is a disease for young elephants. The recorded is some countries that we found in Myanmar, it's a little more than 10 years up to 10, but in European to the record is 1 to 9 years. I think it's under 10 years. And most infection of either no disease, they do not show their symptomatics during the early phases. And occasionally fatal action is the EHV that cause fatal is EHV hemorrhagic disease. So EHV itself is the beta herpes virus type, genus proboscivirus, and EHV, and the subspecies 9 types. The only one EHV 1 and 1E they recorded for Asian, the rest are African elephant. So according to Willem's record, they know in the past 30 years, there are more than 300 elephants have born in European zoos, and among these 396 already died. Among these 96, half of this is caused by fatal EHV. It's also, how does EHV get contacted? So it's by contact. It's direct contact with elephants that are in reactivation phase, that they are multiplying, they start his virulency, and they start shedding. They shed through fluids from trunk, eyes, mouth, vulva, or penis. So this is what they contact each other. And our knowledge at that time is under 1 year are probably, maybe protected for EHV by maternal antibodies. But most of all they are maybe carrier, even they are clinical, they do not affected. They can shed virus, even they are infected. They are not clinically, they are not clinically, ill. So in India, there are records in India. Now we thought this is the first. We thought this only in captive elephant. We now records have shown in India. You have cases of EHV case in free ranging elephant as well. So its gross pathology is young elephant between 1 and 8 years old. This is based on the case reports, and the young elephant that show EHV disease shows edema in especially neck and front leg. It's from Thai elephants. I think it's a photo credit by William is Kajan Pat, hyperemia, hemorrhages in tongue, hemorrhage on the hemorrhage on tongues, and also they also noted generalized edema in calves. In cyanosis, the most prominent sign, most are veterinary. If in elephants who show clinical, the most prominent is cyanosis of tongue. It's caused by vascular shock or heart tamponade. Tamponade is the condition when the pericardial sac contains too much fluid. The heart itself cannot function with this pressure of this fluid. So the heart is drowned its own fluid, something like that. So that cannot expand sufficiently, and this will finally reduce the output of the heart. Excess pericardial can also maybe blood or maybe cerebrosanguineous fluids. So this is the typical case that a typical clinical sign that you can see with elephant that died from EHV. In gross, but it's heart muscles gross congestion in congestion in the intestine, in the liver and also in the brain. So another one, the most prominent, they said, according to William, is in kidney. The kidneys shown lobular reddening, especially medullary regions, corresponding with congestion within and hemorrhage around the peritubular cabin. This is the typical elephant that is died of EHV. This is from collection of one of the photos from the cases. So the main symptoms of him is ERG is caused by vascular shock, or where they can sort of disseminated intravascular coagulopathy or vascular shock. So how EAG progress when they start infection, the cow got infection. They start viremia, virus-like endothelial cells, and then they destroy platelets that cause hemorrhage and capillary leakage and multiple hemorrhage, including heart muscles, and that lead to vascular shock and death. So, but the cause of diseases, viremia lasts 1 to 2 weeks before the cow do not show any clinical symptoms. The first symptom we notice is lethargy, lameness, colics, reduced appetite, abnormal sleeping pattern. When you make RBC hematology, monocytopenia, thrombocytopenia, petechial hemorrhage, and you can see in the tongue, gums, palate, and you say blue tongue, edema. And once you find this symptom, most cows died within 12 to 24 hours. So this is a course of disease. During this part, when viral load stop, when the virus stop, they start the platelets and monocyte start decreasing. So they have now clinicals, once they start clinicals in 1 to 24 hours, 12 to 14 hours, they died. So the suggestion is, one, you found the platelets decrease or monocyte decrease. The suggestion is start treatment. So it's important you have to profile your hematology test of calves on at least weekly basis. Then the earlier you see, the earlier you know, the successful, the treatment you start early is the more chance. But successful treatment, even you start, Willem, according to it, is very few cases survive. Very, very few cases survive. So this is what differential diagnosis, disease with sudden onset, and these are EMCV, salmonellosis, enteroclostridium, leprosy, poisoning. This is a different diagnosis, and this is the two. This elephant endothelial herpes virus in Asia is guideline for management. EHV is downloadable things. You can write to Asian EHV working group, and they are happy to send to this booklet, or you can also download from the web. And also there is chapter in Fowler Zoo and Wild Animal Medicine, current veteran therapy, and there's Willem chapter there. And then if treatment, there's a treatment is repeated sedation if needed, rectal is water with dehydration to compete dehydration, rectal fluids, fluids administered through recta is the most efficient way, and use antiviral drug. Aciclovir is one of their favorites by the vets that have very experienced vet. They do aciclovir. Intravenous virus, you have to be all intravenous fluids or plasma transfusion, antibiotics, immunosuppressants. They are all treatment. Also NCR. And EHV treatment in terms, these are EHV, and this, I think this is all in the booklet. Fanciclovir dosage, ganciclovir, aciclovir, these are all those antibacterial, broad-spectrum, and which you can add it on top of antibiotic to prevent secondary infection. And adjunct, it's a sedative to make the elephant stable, calf stable, and flunexin and dexamethasone is other added therapy. And for standing sedation, they use butophenol, ditomidine, etipendomazole, and naltrexone. That's all they do. So these are all useful to control the elephant and to calm down the calf while giving the treatment. If you do not have all these sedative, you can still use xylazine. And rectal is the way how rectal fluids are done. It's a lukewarm, clean water. Garden hose is okay. First remove the fecal, of course, with lubricant. Use lubricant to get easily removal of fecal, and place hose and higher than the elephant height, and then put it in the rectum. How deep into the rectum? It should at least 1 elbow length from the anus, and advance for another 100 centimeters. It's a long. If you have long hand, it will be useful. And gastric pump or large funnel is okay. They regard it's a very hard work. So it needs a lot of time. You have to do 3 to 4 times per day, up to, or if possible, up to every 2 hours. And so 10 to for 1 kilogram, 10 to 20 ml for every kilogram. If you have 4,000 elephants, you can multiply with 4,000. It's about liters. So when finished, hold the till down for at least 1 minute. That way to just take the water walking in the rectum so that they can absorb. So rectal mucosa is good place to make, you know, absorb back to the hydrogen. It combat dehydration. So this the best way is administrating warm water through rectum. So you need to detect viremia through PCR or qPCR. So you need local diagnostic lab. The result is 24 hours. So start treatment. The recommendation is start treatment when you found viremia, and then continue monitor the BPCs. So calves start treatment when monocyte platelets suddenly drop. So if even no PCR available, you still can monitor the progress of your efficiency of the treatment. It's still effective, it's responsive through weekly hematology, different BPC counts, including you have to look into monocyte platelets. So it's vigilance mean it's good to monitor you. If you have an important calf, you need to evaluate CBC on weekly basis. This is to monitor reference rate. If the any deviated from normal, and you have to make yourself alarm. So this may be something went wrong with the calf. So early age viremia is often so low overall WBC, monocytopenia, they all reducing, thrombocytopenia. If platelets is reducing 10,000, then it's a poor prognosis indicator. So it should be, you have to clinical aids, especially before your elephant show clinical symptoms, you have to do all this before this. So it's something like it should be a routine to collect blood and evaluate CBC on weekly basis. It's a good instruction. Platelets in India is a Dr. Aaron Zachiria. This is the only lab we know. And in Thailand, in Thailand is Chiang Mai University is the what we regarded as the lab, respectable lab that we used to send. You know, most of the neighboring countries send samples to. But I think you still need to have scientist permit, I hope. So this is all I would like to present to it's a long presentation because I'm trying to fulfill the request to me. EHV is not which I'm specially studied or involved, but I'm much more on management, welfare, and demography people. So thank you very much. Is anything you would like to ask? And I'm very happy to answer if time allowed. And thank you very much, Dr. Dude and Professor and Patakar and Dr. Kavitka and always Dr. Shalalat to organize this event. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
There are so much of feedback. Let me just read it quickly for you, ma'am.
Okay, I will try my best. I'm trying to open my
presentation, ma'am. Dr. Ambore sir from KNP College of Veterinary Science, Shirwa, he's given special thanks to you, ma'am, and also to the organizers. Excellent presentation. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the presentation. Dr. Akansha says thank you. Then very informative lecture from Dr. Ashok Kumawat. Dr. Rajesh Agarwal says congratulations to the team and for the informative webinar. And special thanks to Dr. Ma for informative presentation.
Thank you.
Dr. Alka Galov says very informative. There's so much of feedback, ma'am. Excellent presentation from Dr. Umesh Divri, Principal Scientist, IVRI. From Sujit Kumar, very informative. Dr. Nitesh Chaudhary, he is a zoo veterinary officer. Nice presentation, and he is requesting a copy of your presentation, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I will try to send by my PDF.
Well, ma'am, what we are going to do is we are going to upload this as a YouTube.
Oh yes,
the whole
of
presentation.
course.
I would be
Yes,
sharing the same
my
with you.
Myanmar people, I don't know, Myanmar people can access to this event. So a lot of our vet missed this event. I feel sorry for that. I don't know.
Okay, in case you also want to share your PDF, you can send the same. I'll update the same on the website, ma'am.
Thank you, thank you.
Ma'am, if you have 5 more minutes, maybe we can take up some questions. Although we are short on time, but we can still go for a few questions, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm very happy. I'm free. Today I'm making myself free the whole day. So, but it's only up to you, you know. And it's, yes, I know this is a long presentation, and it lasts nearly 2 hours. So it's
no, ma'am. Actually, there were so many questions about the vaccines, but you had already covered in your presentation. Yes. There were a few questions about herpes virus that, I mean, you already just included that also. Yes. But there are a few questions that are one sec, ma'am. Okay. For example, which is the best age to teach language for communication?
Best what? Language.
Age of the calf to teach language for communication.
Best age for calf to learn taming. That is what you mean?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, right. This is the topic of debate for so many years now. There is a condition on zoo condition. Let me talk about zoo condition. The zoo condition, both mothers are calf under protective contact, right? So they are living in the limited space, or with, you know, they can. So and they do have communicate with the keepers on daily basis, right? So the calves understand mother and keeper's relationship very well. So in that kind of situation, if mother is compliant, when mother is okay, you can start the Zoom-born calf since very young, maybe a few days old to week old. Start from this, right? So because the mother is happy to help the calf to start this positive reinforcement training. But in our range state, in our situation, what happened is, my experience, it's best you have to wait a certain period of time that the calf do not shy the crutch, you know, because all the positive reinforcement training are best done in the PC wall. You know, it is safe for trainer and safe for the calf as well, right? So I prefer to start training when the calf start wean. Weaning age is depending on the sex of the calf, body growth, you know, a lot of things. Some elephants are trying to wean themselves, stop taking mother's milk and start eating other things when they are 4 or 5 months old. Some calves wait until 4 years of age to wean themselves. So when they start showing the signs of weaning, the calf start eating other foods, right? So this is the time you can use food as a reward to start the soft training we call positive reinforcement training. This is what my suggestion is. It depends on condition to condition. For zoo-born calves, you can start week old or a month old. As long as mother is happy, the calf, the female mother is happy with the calf.
Okay, ma'am. The next question is, this relates to the incident that happened in Botswana where 356 elephants they died suddenly. Well, it is said that it could be natural, but what's your opinion about that, ma'am?
The group, we haven't seen such event in Asian elephant. Never happened before like this, right? So we witnessed poisoning in elephants in Sri Lanka and some part of Asia, like some of India. This is poisoning we witnessed, but not that amount. You cannot poison 100 elephants at one month or whatever. So poisoning may be not the option, but our mind thinking is it's not intentionally do bad things. So I think it's the kind of disease which we don't know. This is what our worries is. The poisoning cannot happen. You can poison up to 10 people in the or like Orissa state or in Burma or in Mandalay state in Myanmar or whatever, you know, but not 300 elephants. Now, poison is out of my rule. That is what I think. I think something really happening. This is infectious.
Okay, ma'am. Next question is from Dr. Ambore, sir. What is the common practice of breeding in elephants in Myanmar? Artificial insemination or usually gone for natural service, ma'am?
No, we encourage natural breeding. We never practice artificial.
Okay.
Because we let them loose in the forest at night because we do not provision. Our way of elephant keeping is zero investment. We do not invest anything on elephant. No shelter. No, the elephant lives in the forest. They find their own way of living condition in forest and they eat. So in that sense, every forest logging site are in the forest. This forest has plenty of wild elephant as well. So breeding naturally is our own way of breeding management.
Okay, ma'am. What are the precautions that you would recommend for feeding a elephant calf which is separated from the mother?
Good question. I should have added things we know, things we don't know. Things we know, I present things in my. There are things we don't know about. This is the things we, most scientists, more veterinarians, more elephant people not know, you know, in details. What we know on elephant milk supplement, you know, replacement milk formula. We call replacement milk formula. The elephant milk are unique milk. And then the closest to elephant milk is human milk. The reason is elephant milk has fat globules are very small. It's different from dairy milk. Your fat globules are very big. It's very fatty, right? So that is why cattle dairy milk is not appropriate for elephant milk. The elephant milk has they have fatty component, but the globule is a very small. So the nearest elephant milk formula is human milk formula. So our suggestion is whenever I have problem with my cow, because some mother do not produce milk. Some zoos, the female simply do not accept her own cow. It's a mother rejected own cow. So our suggestion is use human infant formula milk as a replacement milk. The same dilution, use same dilution, but it should be fed every 2 hours because elephant is bigger than human, 5 kilos and 10 kilos. They are coming with, you know, 800 kilos. So you have to calculate carefully with their body weight, and it should be every 2 or 3 hours.
Okay, ma'am. What are the chances of calf mortality due to pneumonia, especially in winter?
Calf pneumonia, that honestly, calf do not hardly have pneumonia. The reason is they do have pneumonia. This start from labored breathing, you know, but it's very rare. For us, I haven't seen not too much. I've seen about 3-4 calves in my lifetime. That's all I see. So this calf has very retarded growth, very bad nutritional condition. That kind of calves get that kind of infection, the pulmonary infection. So my suggestion is, you know, give, if possible, you know, give a hydration, you know, drip thoroughly, and then make in the warm condition and give any, you know, broad spectrum antibiotic and dehydration and supported treatment. It's the best for them.
Okay, ma'am. Another question from Dr. Kalyani Thakur. Is tetanus common in elephant calves?
Is what?
Tetanus.
Oh, tetanus. No, not tetanus. Not common in a small calf. Okay. Until I haven't seen that. Most tetanus occurred in Myanmar is only adult after 10-15 years old. But they can, if they happen, they can happen. But it's quite rare. It's not common. That's my answer. Any
recommendation on feeding? I mean, how to feed an ailing elephant, a sick elephant? This is from Dr. Monica Joshi.
Any feeding for elephant. Supplementary feeding, you mean?
Yes, a sick animal. I mean, sick elephant.
Right. You know, elephants are big. If you give supplementary diet, it will be very expensive. You know, like pellets. You know, industrial pellets for even for use for a pig or cattle food. You know, we still have pellets for elephants. You know, in Thailand, they have, you know, they have the animal feed product company. They use elephant pellets. It's a multivitamin, that kind of stuff, but it's quite expensive. It's not easy for normal, you know, lay owner. So my suggestion, if you are in the range state, if you have elephants, I really would like to encourage to use agriculture byproducts as a supplement. So for protein supplement, I will use for, if I think my elephant need protein only supplement, I will use coconut based product. It's cheaper. Or sesame or groundnut cake that you use in cattle food. And the best supply protein feed, you can get it from pulses, right? So these are the main thing we made, we base. So for carbohydrate, we use rice flour, you know, the end product when you polish the rice. So the bran, rice bran in flour, or this groundnut cake. Sesame cake is bitter, so they don't like. So we mixed with for more carbohydrate and for you know, to get good taste, and we mix sugarcane juice or jaggery, the balls of jaggery in this rice bran, and we make pulses. We put it in, and that is what we use. And we also use some supplement that use in horses. So that is a cheaper way to find.
Okay, ma'am.
Generally, yeah, we use rice. Rice is the major normal, you know, carbohydrate base. So cooked rice, and we make a bowl.
Okay, ma'am. I think we are running out of time. I still can see almost 50 plus questions are still there, but most of them are related to like medical treatment, surgical treatment.
Yes, so send it to me by email. I will try to answer.
Sure, ma'am. Sure. I'll certainly share the same with you, ma'am.